Okay, let's again. Let's join the living again. We had a machloekes in Rabbi and Rava throughout the Masechta so far. Is what the reason for b'fanei nichtam b'fanei nechtam is. Rabbi said the reason is because lefi ein b'kiyan lishma, people are not experts in the din of lishma. According to Rabbi, lefi she'ein edim mitzuyim l'kaima. According to Rabbi, because edim are not found to go ahead right and authenticate the get in case of what of an error, a complaint from the Baal claiming that the get was a mizuyif. We went back and forth. At one point everyone held serve, but we had the final ace, so to say, was Rava, the question from the Mishnah that me hagmunya lahagmunya. Said Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, you would have to say b'fanei nichdav u'b'fanei nechtam. I was masbra that view b'fanei nichdav is a city, right? A city. Rabbi Yitzchak said it's a city in Eretz Yisrael. That there seemed to be a hakpada between the two various parts of the city, a mayor here, a governor, whatever, a leader, and there was a fight between them. As a result, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel said you have to say b'fanei nichdav u'b'fanei nechtam. Now, if it's in Eretz Yisrael, according to Rabbah, they were experts in Lishma. So the fact that there's a divide among the city should not make a difference. And for that question, the power of that question, Rabbah agreed to Rava that the city, the reason why you have to say Fanei Nechtam is because since there was a divide in the city, you would not be able to find Eidim to substantiate, authenticate the get. And we said Rabbah Islay the Rava. And then we concluded, therefore, that there was only nafkaminas would be if two people would come and testify. That according to Rava, you would not need Eidim. According to Rabbah, who aside from Eidim Mitzuyim L'Kaimo, you have to take into account the din of Lishma, right? So over there, according to Rabbah, since you come from Eretz Yisrael, you would have to say B'fanei Nechtav, despite the fact you're two people. In addition, another nafkamina would be Medina, right in the same Medina in Chutz La'aretz. The same Medina in Chutz La'aretz would be an nafkamina between the two. Like Rabbah, and you'd still have to say it because you're in Chutz La'aretz. Like Rava, you wouldn't because you're in the same Medina. Okay, so that was and we did away with the Medina in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, so the Gemara continues and pursues a little more this issue about Rabbi and Rava. We're up to the bottom of Dalam Beis, 4 lines to the bottom. Tanan. What did our Mishnah say? I may be getting in Medina's Hayom. You bring a get from Medina's Hayom and you're unable to say in front of me, written in front of me, a sign. And if you have Eidim that recognize the signature, authenticated with that. Now, what does it mean when it says you're not able to say? It says you're not able to say. What does it mean you're not able to say? What's the meaning of that? If you're going to tell me it's a physical inability, because the person is a cheresh, in other words, he's unable to speak, unable to hear. Cheresh bari suyakitahu. Is cheresh someone who possibly can go ahead, right, and bring a get? But tanan, a kol kasherim lehevi is a get. Everyone is kosher to bring a get. Chutz mish cheresh shaita with cotton, with the exception of a cheresh shaita with cotton. So when it says Ein Yachol, it can't be that it has a physical inability, because he would not have been able to go ahead and bring the get in the first place. So what does it mean, Ein Yachol, to go ahead and say B'fanei Nechtam, B'fanei Nechtam? Rabbi Yosef, Hacha Mayaskina, what are we dealing with over here? You gave the person the get, he was a fine, healthy, normal person. And he didn't get a chance to say in front of me, it was written in front of me, it was signed. He didn't get a chance to say that. Until unfortunately he became a cheresh. So initially he started out, he was in the ballpark, there was shlichus, and then because of the physical inability now, he couldn't say it anymore, so we said authenticate the signatures. L'Rava nicha, according to Rava, it makes a lot of sense, because all we care about is whether it's authentic get or not. L'Rabba kasha, L'Rabba it's shver, because L'Rabba, right, you bring a get from Medina's Hayom, and regardless of whether you could say or not say, you whatever happens to this person should not affect the ability to go ahead, the need to say b'fanei nechtam, b'fanei nechtam. If the reason is lishma and not hiyim shtaros, So why was it to be enough? Kiyum shtaris. You would still have to go ahead and ensure it's lishma. And since the person cannot go ahead and say, and again, remember, according to Rashi, you're going to ask the person whether it's written lishma or not. This person's incapable of answering. So it's a kasha on Rava. So therefore, it's a bomb kasha on Rava. In other words, it's a kasha on Rabbi, excuse me. It's a bomb kasha on Rava. As we've proven already that Rabbi is the Rava. The Gemara's pursuit is to go ahead and uproot totally Rabbi's svara and say that, you know what? We do not take into account lishma. Because look at this case, guys. He's a healthy guy. He's bringing the get. All of a sudden, he loses it. He's a cheresh. He can't say anything. So now, according to Rabbi, it should be dead on arrival. It should be dead on arrival because the whole reason for, not the whole reason. In addition to the reason of mitzuyin l'kaimai, you would also need the ability to ascertain whether it was l'shma or not. His inability to talk does not allow you to go ahead and ascertain that concept. The male, we got a problem. Yet it says yiskayim b'chaysamav, and that's enough. So obviously we can do away totally with the reason of l'shma. It's a gavaldig kasha. So much so, after the Gemara, you know what we're speaking about? Acher shalamdu. It's speaking about after they learned the din of lishma. After it was accepted the din of lishma, Taisa says it wasn't so accepted until then. So says, so once they went and learned it, okay, so now, once they learned it, you don't have to worry about lishma anymore. The only thing you have to worry about what is Eidem Mitzuyim L'Kaimoi, and since you're going ahead right now and being Miskayim B'Chaysamav, you're authenticating it, everything as well, and you don't have to say B'Fanei Nechtam, B'Fanei Nechtam. You don't have to say B'Fanei Nechtam, B'Fanei Nechtam. That's what we're saying right now. Okay, says the Gemara. Ihachi, if that's the case, if it's speaking after you learned the din of the Shema, Yachol Nami, even if what? If you're able to say B'Fanei Nechtam, B'Fanei Nechtam, you shouldn't have to say anything. In other words, you're being Miskayim B'Chaysama, right? Right? Says Rashi, first thin line. Yochel Nami, even if he's able to say B'Fanei Nechtam, Lo Litzrichua, you should not go ahead and need it. It should be necessary. Im Efshel L'Kaimoi Be'edim, Lo Yitztarach Lo B'Fanei Nechtam. If it's possible to go ahead and authenticate, Avram, you got to change that background. It's really disturbing me. I'm telling you, I'm seeing double pictures and double people. I'm seeing Lenny twice. I'm seeing Pesci. It's I'm seeing you twice. I don't know. Good. Thank you. Getting back to the pagoda, whatever that is. Ay. Anyway, back to Rashi. You shouldn't have to say B'Fanei Nechtam. There's no reason. Guys, watch. The whole reason you have to say B'Fanei Nechtam is twofold. Either because of Lishma, for sure because of the possibility of the Baal going ahead and complaining, and therefore you would have to go ahead and authenticate it, and that's done by authenticating the Edis, or because of Lishma. Now you're telling me the following, that a person brings a get, he loses it, he's a cheresh, he can't say B'Fanei Nechtam, authenticate it. You could authenticate it, no problem. Now, Fred the Kasha, but you still have the problem of Lishma. And for the Gemara, you don't have the problem of Lishma anymore. Why don't you have the problem of Lishma anymore? Because after they learned the Gemiri, they learned the din of Lishma. So what's the only other problem? The only other problem would be is authenticating the signatures. But you told me you authenticated through Eidim. So Fred the Gemara Kasha, if you don't have to worry about the Shema and you have Eidim to authenticate it, why in the world are you saying B'Fanei Nechtam? Because you can't say it? Even if you could say it, you wouldn't have to say it. Even if you could say it, even if you didn't become a cheresh, you should not have to say it because the reasons to possibly say it are not there anymore. The reason of the Eidim Tzum Kaimo, you have a story that's Muklayim through Eidim, and the reason Lishmar is Lachar Shalamdu. And for the Gemara, I'll tell you what we're speaking about. Hesh, we're the Heyam and Aleph. Hesh, we're about 8 lines down. What are we worried about? Even though you learned it, it may come back. In other words, obviously, this din Lishma had not been accepted once upon a time. You learned it. What's to stop it becoming ineffective again? That people would say that the din doesn't exist. Says Gemara, if that's the case, Ihachi Yachal Nami, Ihachi Eini Yachal Nami, then if you're worried about Shema Yachsa Double Kakulai, even if he's not able to you should not be able to miskaim b'chaysamav. It should not be a good get. After the Gemara, pikeach and ischarish milsid leishchicha, umilsid leishchicha loy goes to rabbanon. Right. Something that's not shchicha rabbanon weren't geyser. So again, let's go through the case. Guy brings the get. He's not able to say b'fanei nechtav. Yiskaim b'chaysamav authenticated. What are we speaking about? He was a cheresh. He was normal, and therefore he was a bar das and a bar shliach. Now he's not in the log a shliach anymore. Why? Because he lost it. Says the Gemara, Miskayim b'chaysama. Fred, the Gemara, it's a kashan rabba. Why don't you have to worry about lishma? After the Gemara, it's speaking after you learned what? You learned the din of lishma. Fred, the Gemara, if you learned the din of lishma and you can be Miskayim b'chaysama, why do you have to say b'fanei nechtam at all? All the reasons for saying it no longer exist. And for the Gemara, maybe you're worried it may come back. The din of lishma may come back. Therefore, you should say b'fanei nechtam. Fred, the Gemara, if you worry about it coming back, then if you can't say it, then what? Then you got a problem. Says Gemara, that's a milsa l'shchicha like goes to rabbanon. Everything is good. Back. For Ha'isha, for l'shchicha, an isha to bring her get is also not common. V'tanan, Ha'isha atzma mevi gita, a woman can bring her own get. U'bavashet tzricha loyma v'fanei nechtav, right? Okay. Shaloi techalik b'shlichus. In other words, so the Gemara answers that you shouldn't go ahead and make a distinction. So Isha milsa l'shchicha, why she's saying anything at all? Pirish. If you tell me milsa l'shchicha, you don't have to say b'fanei nichtav. Why in the world, since a woman is not, it's really not shchiach, why are you expecting her to say b'fanei nichtav? Says the Gemara, shaloi techalik b'shlichus. In other words, let's try to not make a distinction in shlichus, where you're unable to talk. Okay, I have no choice, but we're able to talk to be consistent. That anyone who comes from Medina Sayyam, go ahead and let's be consistent across the board. Like we said yesterday, fellas, that we said that they were geyser. You know what we wanted to keep yesterday. What was the case of muvlois? Shloi techalik in chutz laaretz, right? That even though muvlois, according to Rabbi Eliezer, right, who said you have to say b'fanei nechtav, why? So you should be mechalik b'shlichus. That even though we said yesterday, you remember, guys, that it's contained within the boundary of Eretz Yisrael, still Rabbi Eliezer requires you to say b'fanei nechtav. What was the reason given? The reason was given is shloi techalik anyone who comes from Medina Sayyam. So who are then over here? The Isha, even though what she doesn't have to, because it's mostly shchicha, the Rabbanon weren't geyser, and it's speaking lacha shalom, doing it's speaking that l'chayr you can find this. You shouldn't have to say it. Nonetheless, we say it. Shleit chalik b'shlichus. Ihachi, if you tell me not the chalik b'shlichus bal nami, if a bal brought it as well, his own get, he should have to say b'fanei nichtav b'fanei nechtav, because you don't want to make a chilik in shlichus. However, Allah Matanya, on this we learn who atzmai shehevi kita ain't tzarich loima b'fanei nichtav b'fanei nechtam. Who atzmai, the Baal himself that brings his own get, he does not have to say b'fanei nichtav b'fanei nechtav. Why not, guys? After all, if you don't want to make a chilik in shlichus, anyone who coming from Medina Sayyam, anyone should have to say b'fanei nichtav b'fanei nechtam. So why does the Baal not? And for the Gemara, guys, what's the reason you have to say b'fanei nichtav nechtam? What are you trying to avoid? The husband coming and complaining? If the husband's bringing the get himself, right? Of course he doesn't have to say b'fanei nichtav b'fanei nechtam. He brings his own get, and then he's going to go ahead and say it's a counterfeit? What a fool. Says the Gemara, Hashta minkat nakale biyode, he's holding the get in his hand. Be'uri kama aralaha, and he's giving ma'ara on it. That's not the reason. Okay, so basically, we wanted to uproot Rabbi's svara of Lishma, and we didn't uproot it because it's speaking la'achas lamdu. It's after they learned the din. Again, another attempt to uproot Rabbi's din of Lishma. Tashma. The boy minei Shmuel Merafuna. Shnayim she'aviu get in Medina Sayyam. You have two people. They bring a get from Medina Sayyam. Tzrichim sheyomru. They both have to say b'fanenu nichtav, in front of us it was written. U'b'fanenu nechtav, in front of us it was signed. Oh, he ain't tzricha. Well, they don't have to. After all, there are two people there to be mekayim to get. Says the Gemara, Amalei ain't tzricha. You don't have to. Now, obviously, this is going to be a problem according to Rabbi, guys, right? According to Rabbi, once you're in Medina Sayyam, it has nothing to do with the din and edis. It has to do with the Shema or not. Now, why they believe? Why don't they have to say? If they would have said Girsha, This woman was divorced. Miloi mehimna, would you not be believed? So obviously you have the koyach to go ahead and say that she was divorced. They have the koyach to say that this get is a good get. So it's unnecessary to say b'fanei nichta b'fanei nechta. So let's go through it outside. By now, if you don't understand this, then you need a strong chazara. You're bringing it from Medina Sayyam. According to Rabbi, if it's speaking before they will lamdu, there's a problem of lishma. No matter how many people bring the get, you should have to say b'fanei nichtav, who initiate the process of Bezdin asking you, and was it written lishma? And the answer is in. That's Rashi's pshat throughout the sugya. Who people bring the get? Read the Gemara. Do they have to say? No, they don't have to say, because after all, they could say she's divorced already. So certainly I believe to say it's a good get. According to Rabbi, why do you say that? According to Rabbi, you come from Medina Sayyam. The reason you have to say before is class l'shma, nothing to do with the Edis. So I read the Gemara. The Rav Nicha, according to Rabbi, it's good. The Rabbi Kasha. So again, we want to upshlag Rabbi. What's the answer, guys? Same answer. This is speaking after the din of the Shema was learned. Guys, if it's after the din is learned, one also should be believed according to you, Rabbi, and not to say b'fanei nichtav b'fanei nechtav. Two people, if you're worried that it's going to come back, two people should also have to say b'fanei nichtav. Says Gemara, two people bring a get is the milsa l'shchichi, or milsa l'shchichi legoz rabbanan. The same teretz, the same shak, exact same shak of Italiya. Just go ahead and put in isha. An isha is not shy to bring a get. A person who goes nuts after he was normal and becomes a cherish is not shchicha. And now two people bringing gets not shchicha. So since it's after it's learned already, we don't have to worry about the shema. Since you have two people over here, you don't have to worry about kiyum shtaros. Everything is geshmak, everything is good, and therefore Rabbi has held serve. Says the Gemara. Lagos Rabbanan. For Isha l'shicha v'tnan Isha atzma, the same dialogue. Mavia Gitin b'vachi atzma tzricha lem v'fanei v'fanei nechtav. Says Gemara shleit chalak b'shlichus. Yihachi over here also Baal Nami, the Baal as well should have to say it. Allah Matanya who atzma shevi gita ain't it tzarich lem v'fanei nechtav. Time of my Rabbanan tzarich lem v'fanei nechtav. Don't must see Baal Ma'ar. Maybe Baal's going to come and complain to Pasalei. Ashta minkat nakale biyadi. The Baal is holding on to himself. And he's going to go ahead and say it's what? It's a forgery? Obviously not. Okay, same dialogue. Tashma. I may begin from Medina Sayyam. Someone brings the get from Medina Sayyam. V'nasnula, he gives the get to the woman. V'loy amala, and she does not say to her b'fanei nechtam. In the sky b'chaysama, if the get already was authenticated, guys, the get in other words, you had authentication written on this get that these edim were kosher b'yasha. You authenticated the get. Then kosher, despite the fact you didn't say b'fanei nechtam, it's kosher. It's kosher. V'mlav pasel. So again, let's go outside. We can figure out the kasher already. Once you're going ahead and saying the get is a good get without b'fanei nechtam, because the edim were substantiated, but you come from Medina Sayyam, according to Rabbi, you have a problem. Who cares about authentication? I have to say b'fanei nechtam. Why? Because of the Shema. Nothing to do with authenticated edim. That's going to be the kasha on Rabbi. V'mlav pasel. So hoyleit tzarich loymar b'fanei nichtav b'fanei nechtav lachmer leha. It comes out. We didn't say b'fanei nichtav to be machmer on them to say it's not a good get. Elo lahakol leha. Right? We want to be mekel, not to be required. Not in other words, not to require kiyum. Fellas, there's two ways to look at b'fanei nichtav and b'fanei nechtav. We can look at it as wow, this is such a stringency. Why doesn't the guy just bring the get, give the get? Why does he have to say b'fanei nechtav? That's a chumrah. Or no, I could view it as a kula. I'm looking at futures. Let's say he doesn't say anything. The Baal shows up, and the Baal says, what? This get is a forgery. He then's going to have to do what? Go ahead, find Adam, bring him back all together, go ahead and authenticate. It's a whole ta-da-da-da-da. But what? This is Kishmak. You say b'fanei nechtam, Baal shows up. We don't believe the Baal anymore. As we said earlier in the Masechta, this guy's going to check it out. Since he knows he's going to have to give it in front of 2 or 3 people, as we're going to see today, he's not going to go ahead and be Ma'ara Nafshe. Memela, we won't believe the Baal connected him. So it's a kula to say b'fanei nechtam. So in this case over here, where he didn't say it, we're not going to be machman and say it's not a good get. Once the signature is authenticated, it's going to be a good get. That's the reason. Again, the second line from where it gets wide. We didn't say it to be machmer on the guy. To be makel that you would not need kiyum in case the Baal came along with ma'arer. I don't need kiyum shtaris anymore because I have him. L'rava nicha, l'rabba kasha. Because like Rabba, you still have to say b'fanei nichta because of lishma. Again, what's the Gemara's whole mission? What's the paper trail over here? Let's upshlag Rabba once and for all. Rabba, mamish, then speaking after shlik. You should have to say it when? When should you have to say it, guys? We're worried about it coming back. So over here, it should not be a good get because we have to worry that maybe the illiteracy of the din lishma may return, just like initially it was there and may return. Says the Gemara, Kishini says it's speaking out where she married already using this get. She married using this get already. So what are you going to tell her? 1 second. It could be she married and had kids already. So what are we going to say? The get that you got married on is not a good get. Because why? Because you didn't say b'fanei nechta. I lishma it's lach shalamdu. But even after ach shalamdu, gezeira shema yachsa double kakulai. Also gezeira shema yachsa double kakulai. You're not going to go ahead and be might see this wife and make the children mamzerim. The reason, guys, what's the reason you said it's a good get? Because we said the whole reason the same Fanei Nichla is not a chum, it's a kula. Forget that reasoning. The nisasu. The reason why it's a good get is because she married already, and we're not literally going to go and mess her up by going ahead and saying no, it's not a good get, and your children are, and your second marriage is out. So it has nothing to do with the fact that we want to be mekel, not machmir, as the Brisa said. It has everything to do by where she remarried. But had she not remarried, it won't be a good get. Says the Gemara Nahachi Kamar. Here's the way you learn pshat. The chitema, what are you going to say? Lahachmo leha. Since we should be machmir, you didn't say b'fanei nechtam, v'lafka, and make her get divorced from the second husband. I believe we have to say like what's the reason we say funny nechlav? Tilmi us the baal ma'aru pasale ashta baaloi kama'arer. The baal's not being ma'arer, guys. He didn't say anything. Anon nekim v'naro leha, and we're going to go ahead and say it's asa, guys. Let's go through the case. Shows up, right? Person shows up with a get from Medina Sayon, gives it to her, does not say b'fanei nechtam. The get has authentication on it, and she remarries using this get. Read the Gemara like Rabbi, you can never remarry using this get. You didn't say b'fanei nechtam, and you have to worry about the shema. And for the Gemara, it's after you learned, you don't have to worry about the shema. Read Gemara, if you don't have to worry about the shema, why are you saying b'fanei nechtam in the first place? After all, both reasons are no longer there. The reason the Shema is no longer there because it's Laka Shalamdu. The reason why the Shema you won't find Aiden L'Kaimai is not there because the get is authenticated. Says the Gemara, it's speaking you worry maybe Shem Yachsadav L'Kukulai. Right? Says the Gemara that maybe you worry that why it's going to come back. Says the Gemara. So why would it be okay? You should have to worry it should not be a good get. Says the Gemara, she remarried. She remarried already. She remarried. Says the Gemara, 1 second, she remarried, but you didn't do it the right way. So what are we going to say? Husband never came and said anything. So the reason of b'fanei nechtam was what? To be a kula that you would not need to go ahead and authenticate the get if the husband goes ahead and is ma'arer. So what are we going to say now? 1 second. You didn't say b'fanei nechtam. So let's play the role of the husband and say it's not a good get in order to go ahead and make her leave the second husband. He never said anything, the husband. So once he didn't say anything, we don't need the kula of b'fanei nechta. Let us stay married. Admeya ve'esem shana gezunta hayt. Gishmak. We didn't uproot Rabbi, guys. Rabbi islay the Rava. Rabbi does hold the Rava's reasoning as well. But Rabbi held his guns about Lishma. We did not uproot him. We tried. We did not. The Gemara is going to suggest now the machloikus between Rabbi and Rava, in fact, is a machlokes of earlier Amoraim, the earliest Amoraim, who are Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi and Rabbi Yochanan. Says the Gemara, beplukted Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Let's say the machlokes in Rabbi and Rabbi is the same machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Yeshua ben Levi. We don't know who says what. We don't know if it was Rabbi Yochanan who said it. We don't know. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said it. The Gemara, however, has a proof. This time, I'll bring you a proof that Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, who the Amal Lefi Shein B'Kiyin Lishma. That Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi is the reason it says Lishma. The Rabbi Shimon bar Abba, Isaac Gitin Kamei Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Rabbi Shimon, the son of Abba, brought again in front of Yeshua ben Levi. And he said to him, Tzrich l'meim l'fanei l'fanei nechtam Eloi Amalei le'tzriches. Le'amru el b'doros Rabbi Shainim Shein B'Kiyin Lishma. Al b'doros Hari Achronim B'Kiyin Lishma Loi. This time you have a good raya. Okay. Important, guys. Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish, we have machlokes, and we want to say this is the machlokes Rabbi and Rava. We're proving that Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said the reason why you say "Fanei nechtam" is as the Shema, and that was only in previous generations. But alacha shalamdu, and it's been miskabel because of law lishma. We don't have to worry anymore. Who said this? Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. So Rabbi Yochanan, who argues, must hold what? The reason is what is because ein edim mitzuyim l'kaima, right? That's again very important because Gemara is going to bring it in. When Yeshua ben Levi argues with Rabbi Yochanan, and Yeshua ben Levi says the reason the Shema, like Rabbi, it must be Yeshua ben Levi. Rabbi holds like Rabbi Yochanan that the reason is as what as ein edim mitzuyim l'kaima. Very good. Says the Gemara Vayta. Pick at the word v'tizbra. V'harabba islay de Rava. First of all, Rabbi holds of Rava. So Rabbi would have to agree. You can't say it's a machlokes across the board that one goes like one and one goes like the other, because after all, Rabbi does agree with Rabbi. Right? You're worried that what? Maybe the matter will come back likulkuloi. Right? Maybe so. So the question is, how was Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi? How was Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi allowed to tell Rabbi Shimon ben Abba to go ahead and not say b'fanei nechtam? Guys, even if it's speaking lacha shalom, aren't you worried about what it coming back to its earlier roots? So the Gemara is asking a kasha now on the case. Good. You have the machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. The kasha is, how could Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, who says the reason al Shema, but one second, Rabbi islay the Rava, that you still have to worry about Adam being there. In other words, you have to say b'fanei nechtam. Forget you don't have a lishma problem. You still have an edus mitzuyin l'kaimai problem, yeah. And Rabbi agreed to that. So why Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi say that you don't have to say b'fanei nechtam? That's the Gemara's kasha. After the Gemara, take out the word Ella. Rabbi Shimon bar Abba in the Shachrina Havi Badei. He had another person with him. And the reason we didn't consider the other person, Mishum Kfoide Rabbi Yeshua, because the Kfoide Yeshua ben Abba. So here's the case, guys. In front of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi showed up two people, the great Rabbi Yeshua ben Abba and another lesser person. So there were two people. So what's the two possibilities you have to worry about? Lishma and what? Eidim Mitzuyim L'Kaimoi. Als Lishma, we already said that what? That was the earlier generation. This is Lacha Shalamdu. There are two people here. Since there are two people over here, you don't have to worry. And we get to it two dots. Okay? That's the sugya of Rabbi and Rava. And now we leave that after three blot of that. Earlier we said, when the shliach comes, how many people does he have to give it in front of? Okay, let's go. Either two or three. If he gives it two, it's a din of Edis. If he gives it three, it's a din of Bezdin. Again, there's no such thing as a Bezdin of two. Bezdin always has to be an odd number. Bezdin always has to be an odd number. And the oddest number, the smallest number is 3. 2 and 1. That's your odd number. So if you say you have to give it in front of 3, obviously it must be what? It must be a din in Bezdin. Good. So that's going to be machlokes, and that's going to be the longest of the next sugya. Itma. In front of how many people does he have to give the get? When he says funny nechtav, how many people does he have to give it in front of? Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Chanina, Chad Amma once says, B'fnei Shnayim, in front of two people. Chadam b'fnei shloshim in front of three people. Guys, just remember earlier, Yeshua ben Levi is the one who said Lishma, and Rabbi Yochanan disagreed. So Rabbi Yochanan must be the one who holds that Ein Eid Mitzvah L'Kaimai. Istayim, I'll bring you a proof that Rabbi Yochanan Hu Da'ama b'fnei Shnayim. Rabbi Yochanan is the one who says in front of two. In other words, we have machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Chanina. We don't know who says what. Let's try to bring a proof that Rabbi Yochanan is the one who says two. Right? The Rav in Bar Rav Chista, I see Gitin l'Kamed Rabbi Yochanan. He brought again in front of Rabbi Yochanan. The Amalei said Zil Havlei Ba'ape Trey, and Rabbi Yochanan said, go give it over in front of two. The Eimelahu and say b'fanei nichtam b'fanei nechtam. So tistayim. You have a good raya because Rabbi Yochanan said in front of two. So Rabbi Yochanan said two. Rabbi Chanina said three. Rabbi Yochanan said two. Rabbi Chanina said three. Tistayim for the second time in a block. I don't remember as off the top of my head another block that's you have two rayas that you don't have a kasher on and proofs right away unequivocally. Tistayim. It's not common, right? Fine. So you have a raya that Rabbi Yochanan said two and not three. Let's say this is machlokes. Demand the Omar b'fnei Shnayim, the one who says in front of two. In other words, Rabbi Yochanan Savar, if you she'ein b'kiyan l'shma. Guys, you have a kasha right there, right? Let's go back to the beginning of the Yomid. Machlokes from Yeshua ben Levi and Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi is the one who said l'shma. Rabbi Yochanan is the one who said what? Ein edus t'surim l'kaimai. And now you want to suggest that Rabbi Yochanan is the one who says l'shma. That's a problem. Uman da'am b'fnei shloisha ksava l'fi she'ein edim t'surim l'kaimai. In other words, here's a very good machlokes. If it's a din lishma, I just need edus that's lishma. If it's a din in kiyum shtaris, I need three. I need a bezdin to mekayim the shtar. So the one Reb Chanina who would hold three would hold it's a din in kiyum shtaris. I have to mekayim it. I need an edus of three. The one who says a din lishma, Rabbi Yochanan, it will be enough two. Okay, so that's the machlokes. And for them, there's no raya. B'tizbara. That you really think that this is the pshat over here, that you really think that this is the so. In the machlokes above, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi is the one who said, because remember he told Rabbi Shimon ben Abba, we don't have to worry about Lishma anymore. Rabbi Yochanan was his bar plukta. Rabbi Yochanan amal lefi she'ein edim l'suyim l'kaimai. V'hacha hechi kam Rabbi Yochanan l'fnei shnayim. What's your limud? That you believe in front of two. Why? Because you don't need kiyum shtaris. It's a din l'shma. You can't possibly say that Rabbi Yochanan holds it's a din l'shma, fellas, because Rabbi Yochanan said above, meaning we inferred above when Yeshua ben Levi is the one who said l'shma. It must be Rabbi Yochanan is bar plukta holds it's a din l'kaimai. That's one reason it's not right. But another reason that your hezber of machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Chanina, whether you need two or three, is not correct. Rabbi is the Rava. Rabbi holds like Rava, so you'd also need three. In other words, once you say that it's a din kiyum shtaris, two should never work. Two would work if you only hold the shema. Once you hold any of the sum l'kaima, you would need three. Ella. So therefore, let's look for a explanation, fellas. What's the svaras machlokes? Why you would need two and three? Why we need two and three? Saying two is as the shema is not going to work. So there must be another reason. Ella, what's the machlokes? The svaras machlokes. Everyone holds that. So what's the kasha then? If you need it's a din and edus of Mitsuyin l'kaima, you should need a bezdin of three. The question is if that aid itself can become a dayan or not. V'hacha b'shliach nasa aid, but the shliach will become an aid. The aid nasa dayan kanifagi. Mandam ifnei shnayim ksavar shliach nasa aid ve'aid nasa dayan. So you have three. The two people plus him is three. The mandam ifnei gimel ksavar shliach nasa aid. The shliach could become an aid. However, ve'ain aid nasa dayan. An aid can't come a dayan. Right? There's a Paisris in Daf Chaf Aleph in Ksubis on the days. Chaf Aleph on the days of Ksubis, it says, "Va'amdu shnei anashim l'fnei aleihim." It says the two men should stand up in front of the dayan, since meaning the two edus in front of the dayan. So ein eid nasa dayan, because how physically can that be? You need one standing in front of two. So ein eid nasa dayan. Or Paisris says another svara that one of the yesodus of edus is that an aid has to be concerned that maybe if he lies, that someone else is going to come along and say, how could you have testified you with me in this place at this time? And he would be an Eid Zomam, and then we'd become the Basislei Kasha Zomam Lasas Lachib. We do to him what he wanted to do to his brothers. If an aid become a dayan, there's no way he's going to makabel aidis on himself. He's not going to be makabel other aidis to be mason himself. So therefore, that's another reason aid has a dayan. Very famous Tosfos in Kesubis Daf Chof Aleph Amid Beis. Bottom line is, here's your first Samachlokes, guys. 2 versus 3. The one that says 2 works is because you need a bezdin. You know how you're going to get a bezdin? That 8 is going to become the third member of the bezdin. According to the one that says 3, that 8 cannot become a member of the bezdin, and therefore you need 3 independent of the 8. That's as far as the machlokes. Read the Gemara. How can you say that's as far as the machlokes? V'kaimalon b'drabanan the 8 nasadayin. If it's a din drabanan, an 8 could become a dayan. And since this din of funny nechtam is only a din in drabanan, everyone should hold the 8's nasadayin. So why would you need 3? 2 should do the job. After Gemara Elohim must no. So now back to another. Let's go. What's the machlokes between the 2 or 2 or 3? Elahacha b'hacha nifli. Here's the machlokes. The masava kimin the isha kshera lehevi as a get. Since a woman is kosher to bring a get, zimin the ma'asile isisa, she'll bring a get. The samcha Allah, right, and you'll be saimech on her, and you can't be saimech on her. You need 2. You need 2 without a woman, so therefore you need 3. The idach isha made the yada. A person who knows that an isha can't be a dayan, and therefore you're not to be samech on her, and therefore 2 would do the job. That you only need 2 and not 3, like Rav Chanina. I may be getting Medina Hayom. The person brings a get from Medina Hayom, he gives it to her. He doesn't say anything. It's not a good get. You get married, and you child from the second marriage will be a mamza. Guys, Kate said Yasser? What's the proof? Kate said Yasser, what should you do? Yitlena Himenu take the get from her, the Yachsuru and return. If you don't give it to her, here's the key word. How many do you give in front of? Bifnei Shnayim and not Shleisha. There's your proof. Bifnei Shnayim Shleisha. The Yomer and say Bifnei Nichel Bifnei Nechtam. Okay, that is what? That's the proof. Now let's go back to the Bryce itself. We have a machlokes. Rabbi says if the get is not a good get, midrabanan l'chayra, you're going to go ahead and say that what it takes it from the second husband and the child's mamza. Rabbi mishum loyamav funny nifla funny nechtam, which is only din drabanan yaitzev avad mamza, would be possible to get to make the child from the second marriage into a mamza. Because the Gemara einachinami in you would. You know why? Rabbi l'tamei. This is Rabbi going according to his reasoning. Rav Hamnuna mishmei deula amahay Rabbi. This very famous line. Anyone changes from literally the coin that the Chachamim coined in Gitin, anyone who deviates from the protocol that they've established, Yoitza, then you have to leave your second husband, the Havlad Mamzer, and the Vlad would be a Mamzer. Let's see Tosfos Ketzad Yaseh. Says Tosfos, Pirish, Ketzad Yaseh l'Rabbanan, shetisani l'chatchila. How's it possible that the Chacham said that what she can get married initially? Or Yenisis, or if she does get married, Shlei Tetzei, Aval Vlad ain't Sarf Takana, the Blei Takana lo havi Mamzer, the less lahu kolam Mishana, or Rameya Ketzad Yaseh, Koidim Nisuin, Aval Ach Nisuin, Mistabed Rameya ain't Takana, the Kivin the Avad Mamzer, and Cain Kol Hadracham Elu Bav Tetzei. Okay, Bes Hashem will see this. Bes Hashem will see this tomorrow. Okay, we'll see Bes Hashem tomorrow. That Tosfos will go over tomorrow. Anyway, thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Again, thank you anyone for sharing with me one of the most wonderful Shabbosim in my life.